Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to episode 11 of the WOSFL Scotland Football League Buildup Show. It's another one where we're late in the week, a few different things happening, which has made it on a Thursday. We have Royal Albert manager Connor Whitelaw. We've been accused of not going down the divisions as much as we should, Connor, so I don't think we can go any further than Division 4, mate. But listen, it's good to have you on, mate. How are you?
I'm good, mate. Thanks. It's good to be on. It's good to get a wee sky from my work for an hour. I've jumped into my welfare unit on site to good, mate. Really good. Thanks.
I'd said it actually looks like you're in the jail. You've got a jail signal as well.
I know, mate. I can only apologise. Feels as if I'm in the jail.
We will rattle on, mate, anyway. So, the way we normally do these shows is we try and get to know the gaffer a wee bit better, get to know a bit of your background, because in the rest of Scotland, we are quite ignorant of the divisions below, but obviously me and you know each other personally for our time in the amateur game. Yeah. But for everybody watching and everybody watching episode 11, Connor, give them a wee bit of an insight to you as a person, a football player, a manager, and how you've ended up at Royal Albert, mate, and take as long as you want.
Aye, so obviously my own football career get stopped quite early. I had a really bad knee injury, as most people's whose careers finish early does. I'd been kind of boys club and been pro youth at Queen's Park at under 20s and stuff like that, and that summer I got a bad knee injury, and just being young and naive, I never quite done my rehab right, and I still get problems right to this day. I've had 7 or 8 operations in the last 11 years, so it just obviously my best mate Daryl Meikle, he's at Lanark obviously, so well he's at Lanark now, and he was young at the time as well, playing with Lesmahagow Juniors, and he got an ACL injury, and the tours were just kind of football daft, and there was a lot of people around about our area who our age or younger, probably younger to be fair, a good bit younger, very good players who there just was no teams around, no amateur teams, no there definitely wasn't any under 20s or under 18s, and we just came up with an idea to start Lesmahagow Amateurs on a Sunday, and it just went from there. We just came in together, and through time Daryl kind of took more control as being manager, and I was his assistant, and we just built. We pretty much won every Sunday out with the Scottish, which we came up runners up in to a very, very good Castlemilk Dynamo side. They were phenomenal, and we just the following year we went Saturday, and again we started off in the central. We didn't want to get and start off, with all due respect, in the lower leagues, or maybe a league quite not as high up and competitive, because with a young team and we've seen them going places, and we were just fortunate we get promoted in the last day of the season, albeit there was a wee break in between with COVID obviously, but and it just grew arm and legs, and there was boys dropping down for junior who were local boys. They seen us, we were winning everything, or competing at the highest level for sure, the amateur, and well, the crowds we were getting was scary, like for amateur football.
I came down to one of your games, Connor, and I was like, "This is absolutely mental. This is an amateur game of football, like, you know, like weird."
I remember our rivals were the Bullfrog. Now that's going back to a Sunday, but the Sunday football, there was, you know yourself, you know what, you're probably the best person to speak to about a Sunday football. About 7-8 years ago, the standard was excellent. And the crowds we were getting were phenomenal, and that just followed us to a Saturday as well. We're getting really, really good crowds and getting really good players, and we started to get a wee bit of interest, or should I say, we were hearing about junior clubs sniffing around, and then the season where Daryl went to Lanark and I ended up at Royal Albert, we made the decision summer, because again there was a next influx of young players coming through, and there was a couple Saturday morning sides round about us had folded. So we made the decision where I would then go and manage Saturday morning side, with it being the aim of supporting the afternoon side. But within 2-3 months, the morning side again we landed so lucky with these players we got for the Saturday morning side, and we won the double the first year. We won the league and we won the main cup at Saturday morning. And we did a really good season, and then so that was the first season. So then going on to the second season, very early in the season, Daryl got approached by Lanark. I think Lanark were maybe 3 or 4 games in, and he got approached to go, and I had the chance to go with him and be on the coaching staff. And I just felt at the time where I was kind of learning, I was kind of my own manager at the morning side, and with a good side there, and we'd had success already. We were unbeaten in the league. I think we were 8 or 9 unbeaten in the Saturday morning league at this point, the following season, and I just wasn't ready. The morning team weren't ready to make the step up either to go, whereas the afternoon team, it kind of hit their ceiling, they hit their peak, and it showed because they went with Darrell to Lanark and obviously went and won the 3rd division last year, but I stayed a couple of months longer, and then that's when the Royal Albert job came up, and Royal Albert, Peter Higgins, who was the chairman of Royal Albert for all the years,
I know Peter well.
Kind of, I'd reached out to Peter obviously and said I was interested. Peter was interested, but Peter was in the middle of kind of giving the club away to the youth committee, who were got to take. There's eight youth teams at the Royal Alberts, and there's a big committee. So that committee were in the middle of taking over the full club, taking over the juniors as well. But they'd reached out. I never knew this, but they'd reached out to me. They'd reached out to me and said, "Listen, we're coming in and we would like you to be the manager." So it just went for there. Like, as I say, I've been very, very lucky where I've been involved with teams, as you know, like Sunday, Saturday morning, where we've always been successful. And I've just learned my trade that way and continue to do so, really.
I said to Daryl when we spoke to him, the transition, I think people have been quite ignorant in the past, and they'll say, "Oh, we're an amateur team. We could easily beat a 3rd or 4th division team." I think, and I don't mean any disrespect when I say this, you've seen Daryl have relative success, and that relative success could potentially continue this Saturday afternoon. But you've come into Royal Albert knowing that Royal Albert, have been down in the dumps for a wee while. How do you transition from being a successful Saturday morning manager to being a successful coach alongside Daryl to being your own man? How do you then transition that from being successful to being with a team that you know that you're going to probably need to build from scratch? How do you do that, mate?
It's been extremely tough, mate. I'm not going to lie to you. It's been really tough. There were certain points this season, right at the very start, I was questioning if it was the right thing for me. Obviously, as I said, the afternoon team at Lesmahagow taught a peak at amateur football, in my opinion, where there was nowhere else to go but junior. Obviously, there was the Scottish Cup carrot, but anything could happen in the Scottish Cup, so you were kind of staying around for the Scottish Cup. Personally, me and Darryl at the time had started to see the decline in amateur football, but with the Royal Albert, I took over my morning side, so I took over 18 boys for my Saturday morning side, and about 90% of them hadn't even played Saturday afternoon football before. So again, straight away I put these demands on these boys where quality wise they were there and no more, especially for the 4th division, but some of the boys maybe can only make training once a week and that's why they play a Saturday morning, or some of the boys maybe can't train, or they work hard all week, they maybe like going to Parkhead or Ibrox, and we came in and there was still 20 players originally for Royal Albert, but I came in on the back of Royal Albert on a kind of similar position to BSC this season, where I think the last 2 games had been like a 10-0 and an 8-0 defeat or something like that. So I had to be quite brutal, to be honest. I kept 3 or 4 of the original boys. I think I've got one left who's been there for 11 years. Disco David Hamilton, who's a great guy, good player, still offers a lot.
Disco's a great player.
Aye. But I had to come in and kind of really be brutal. I had to be cruel to be kind because the boys weren't in my plans. I brought my morning side over and we had a bounce off that. We went 6 unbeaten. We won 5. 1-5 drew 1 for 6 games, and then we went on a wee dip and kind of lost 3, drew 2, never won in 5. And I think the boys just kind of, as time went on, some of the boys kind of started to gradually fall back to Saturday morning football. And that was the agreement I made with them. I made the promise to them that if they made the jump with me, so to be honest, I could get my opportunity at junior, which doesn't come around all the time, I would hold them back. I wouldn't hold them back if they then said, listen, we want to get back and play Saturday morning with my pals. Because it became too serious for some of them, and that was kind of it in a nutshell. So there's obviously then it came to pre-season, and I'd kind of thought I'd maybe have a lot more boys than I would have than I'd ended up with. A lot of them went back playing Saturday morning, so I'd maybe a 5-week period where to pretty much build a team on no money and pull boys in, and we done that and we worked hard, but I knew my squad was a wee bit away. I knew it would take into the middle of this season to really get a settled squad. There's obviously, I'm hoping coming up to this summer, we've got a much more settled squad. I've got about 85% of my current squad re-signed, which has never happened at Royal Albert for years. It just doesn't happen. And I've had a lot of my players had interest for third, second, first division clubs, and they've stayed because we hopefully try to sell that we're building something. But bringing players in can still be difficult. I've obviously been very, very fortunate. It's no secret. Daryl's helped me out with when players have become available for Lanark. But obviously, with me having the back,
mate, you need that at this level of football, you know what I mean? And it's good that Daryl done that for you as well, mate.
Aye. So with me having the background, the coaching with Daryl, all the players who went to Lanark know me. So it's an easy kind of for some of the boys, and we still train on the same. Us and Lanark train at DL on a Monday, Wednesday, and we share the full pitch. So a lot of that stuff, boys, we've sold 2 or 3 boys to Lanark just the same as they've sold to us.
Aye.
And still there's still that, I wouldn't say that feel like the same club because there definitely isn't anything like that, but we still see each other and we still kind of bump in and we're training the same nights and stuff. So that suits boys because it's local for everybody. So I've been very, very fortunate. I've got boys at Royal Albert where I can honestly say they shouldn't probably be at the Royal Albert or they wouldn't have been at the Royal Albert any other time. They're there because it's friends or family or this or that. So I'm very, very fortunate, but I need to build on that now and I'm hopefully going to add 1 or 2 boys in the summer who hopefully again add to that and hopefully help us get to the next level. I don't feel we are far away from that. So that's pretty much where we're at with that. It's just now, obviously I'm looking forward to having this summer where I know that I'm not going to need to chase 20 players in the space of 5 weeks because it's difficult. I've maybe got about 8 players from the first game of the season to just now this season. I've had to just kind of keep up. I've done 2 rebuilds in the space of 18 months, so I'm looking forward to not needing to have that stress over me this summer.
Again in the summer, and actually be able to maybe kind of concentrate on what you should be doing in the summer, and that's
exactly.
really hard and getting prepared. Listen, much has been said. You mentioned about the decline in amateur football. Now, obviously, outside the media work that I do, I've managed the amateur level for about 10 years, as you know, and out of nowhere, we can actually win a league on the 25th of May, so it's still I still get a right buzz out of it, right? But I'm very aware that the amateur leagues have declined. We've seen that with the Saturday leagues merging. Saturday morning football's probably became more prominent because boys want to go and watch Celtic Rangers, and I suppose that's just the way of it in the west of Scotland, and even out through the east and things like that. You're still getting boys that support Celtic and Rangers, but the Sunday Central folding completely. Teams having to go to the GDSFC. A lot of that has been blamed on the west of Scotland. Now, if you were to speak to people, they'll turn around and say to you, the west of Scotland has probably killed amateur football because of the under-20s rule, being that if you play for, say, for instance, Clydebank under-20s, then you're signed with Clydebank. So you've got boys that will continuously sit, and I'm not saying Clydebank do this, by the way, I want to put that out there, I'm just using it as an example. You've got boys in under-20s teams sitting on a bench constantly, signed with, because I think that's how it works with Comet now, like if you're signed for Clydebank under-20s, then you're signed for Clydebank. So there's boys throughout, that level of football that aren't playing an awful lot of football. And then you have people saying that, the bottom end of the 3rd division and the 4th division are basically now just glorified amateur leagues. 1, would you agree with that? Or 2, do you think, did you see the difference. So taking your Saturday morning team, Connor, into Royal Albert, and then getting those 5 wins in a draw. What difference did you see at that level? Was there a huge difference, or
There was. So we'd obviously played a couple teams, junior teams with my Morningside in friendlies, because I've always had contacts in the junior game, and we played a couple and we competed and this and that, and as I say, we did get a bounce, and I would agree to a fraction that the West of Scotland has obviously made it more difficult for amateur teams. As you just said, you're over under 20s, even you're over 35s, your third and fourth division clubs. I would agree with that to an extent, but I felt as if the game was rapidly going downhill before that, I think. And I'll be honest, the biggest factor for me was I'd be sitting in the Saturday morning anyway. Daryl dealt with most of the afternoon stuff, but in the Saturday morning, trying to get a park. So we were a Lesmahagow Saturday morning team. Our park, we couldn't get a park in Lesmahagow because of boys clubs. But then that took us down to Hamilton or Motherwell on free G, or try to get a free G park for a Saturday morning. Impossible. Like, I don't know. You know better than MD. It's so difficult now for amateur teams. And then what they're doing, they're just bumping prices up left, right, and centre. You're paying 180 quid before you've kicked the ball.
So a tenner doesn't cover it now.
It doesn't. No.
You know what? Like my boy, even to the day, some of my boys will still question that. Do you know what I mean? But they'll question their football being a tenner on a Sunday. But they'll no question their steak and chips in the restaurant going up by a fiver or a tenner. I think that's just the way the world now. Do you know what I mean? Honestly, doesn't cover it.
And I think it kind of falls back into the category of the West Scotland, because I think I was charging my boys, I think, £50 a month now. That's best part of 2 years ago, and that was me fundraising like hell to keep the club going and help go towards parks and stuff like that. But they boys then meant for getting £50 a month, and now we don't pay wages at Royal Albert, but they were then saving 50 quid to come and play. And I think that is a carrot where clubs can especially now, it's a carrot where maybe if there is teams even paying £10-20 a week, straight away, if you turn it, maybe you're 100 quid to 200 quid a month better off all of a sudden to go to the West of Scotland and go to the 4th Division. And that all plays a factor, especially if you've got a family, or especially if you're giving up a Saturday to work to play football. So I would agree with the West of Scotland that way, but I just felt as if the amateur game was rapidly going downhill. And the biggest thing for me, I say, was the prices of everything. It was extortionate. Even it was the same. You had to go and sort your own referees. And I look back now, and the guys like yourself have been gone for 10 years. My assistant Joe Rock at Colton S, he just won a league title. I think it's his first league title.
Is Joe your assistant? Oh, so he is.
Joe's my assistant.
Aye, Joe is, by the way, man. What a guy. Has he still got my view camera?
Is that yours?
That's mine. Is he got that still?
No, I get chased up at the tileworks every Saturday. That's the Alberts now.
Man, Joe's a great guy. Listen, he is a top guy, man.
But it's guys like yourself and Joe who have kept clubs going single-handedly for 10 years, and I dare say put a lot of your own money into it at certain times to do that. Because I know I did at times just to. Aye, and it just gets to the point where every other day you're looking at clubs putting tweets up. There was one yesterday, Cutfield, a local club to help Mary Lesmahagow. They folded. They won the South of Scotland last year or the year before, and they're folding a year later. And it's sad. It really is sad. And again, it just comes down to, because it's mostly young guys who are running teams, and they maybe settle down, or they maybe have a baby or that, and they can't afford to be putting maybe 100 quid a week at their own pocket and hope they'll get it back. So I think that personally, I feel that was the biggest.
Do you know the mad thing? The mad thing at amateur for me is, now I've been very honest and open about certain things at clubs that I've ran in the past, right? But what I'll never ever understand, right, is you will always put your heart and soul into it. But see the amount of times that people think that you take money out of clubs, or you do this and you do that, when in its entirety, right, Now, I've been accused of it 2 or 3 times, and I've never done it. But what I have done in the past is I've taken maybe money out to cover expenses, petrol, things like that. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Sometimes you just got to do that, right? But I think that maybe over the course of the last 10 years, I've probably put maybe about £3,000 of my own money into a football club. And see when my St Caddock side, we folded in the February, right? We just had to do it because it was sad. We turned up to play Summerston with 10 men. Funnily enough, we won the game, right? We won the game 4-2. But I remember saying to the boys, sometimes when times are tough, you need to pull together. Now, my car had broke down and I had no car, but I had all the kit. And I messaged into the chat and I said, lads, listen, I said, I need a favour here. Somebody's going to need to bail me out. I can't get to the venue on Sunday. I've got all the kit here. I've got all the bottles. And not one person, not one single person was able to do that. And I've ended up having to spend 50 quid getting a taxi there and back just to make sure that I'm there. And it's these wee daft sacrifices that I think you just don't see. Now, if I'm doing that, how many other people are making those sort of sacrifices through the amateur game? I mean, and I feel that's probably a good way to take me on Kenio. Do you know Stephen? I know Daryl's got a good relationship with Ken.
I know Stephen Mail and Stephen and his Sleep Hubs side. They'll be a good addition. It'll be Daryl's been minding me up saying Netflix or Prime should be getting involved with me and him.
Listen, we mentioned about Kenio in the show a couple of weeks ago, and I think, and I can say it now, right, because we spoke about it and it's been well documented, right? We had a laugh about, a player getting offered a certain amount of money in a Celtic season ticket, and I said, and I said to him on the phone, I said, mate, sometimes you've just got to do that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It might sound absolutely mental, but sometimes to entice a player to your club, you might just have to David things like that. Now, I'm under no illusions that happens at other clubs.
Well, again, I know Stephen Mail. We've became pals through being rivals. Obviously, I the Saturday morning side and his Saturday morning side with the two kind of good sides going around, and they piped them to league title our first year. But I know a lot of the Glebe Pads boys who are coming with them, and they're good boys and they're very good players. Some of them have played a good level, really good level. Guys like Nicky Moore and stuff like that, they've played junior most of their days. And I kind of say that to Stephen, just relax, because I heard some of the wild rumours and stuff like that as well, and some of them are rumours. But I've also said to him, listen, see if you're finding a way to give a guy a season ticket, let them talk. Like, that's up to you. You're a junior now.
He's into
when you hear the rumours at amateur.
Aye.
When you hear the rumours at amateur, it's saying is he decent?
So my wee number 10 is class, mate, but obviously he doesn't. Kenio doesn't know him for my team. He knows him for Shawbridge. Do you know what I mean? And he's right into him. Do you know what I mean? And I'm kind of, and no, I'd love Johnny to go to a different level. But see, for me, right now, agree with me or not agree with me, because I've been involved with the West of Scotland since it was first inducted. I was with Ashfield at that point, right? But I always say to players, I don't want to stand in the way of you going up and playing at a higher level, right? But see, for me, if you're going to play at a higher level, then there needs to be something that goes along with it. You can't just tick along playing football, right? You need to, be competitive, to be in the mix for trophies. You see, if you're not competitive and you're not in the mix for trophies, then why not go and play with your pals and be in the mix for trophies? And you probably experienced that with your Saturday morning boys who came with you and then maybe disappeared because ultimately, Connor, you're going to have to spend a bit of time working with that other side to get it right. It's not going to happen straight away. You know what I mean? It's not. Mate?
Give me 2 seconds and I'll fix it.
That's all right, mate. By the way, we're all good. There we go. Happy days. It's all right, mate. Most of your listeners listen and don't watch, so it's all good.
That's fine. No, you're absolutely right, mate.
On you go, mate.
Sorry, mate. So, obviously, as I say, we brought boys for the Saturday morning, and most of them went back to Saturday morning side called DL. Who again, they're all local boys, and they've went They've been challenged for the league title this year, so they boys are going like, well, we can train once a week challenge for a league title, whereas if I'm at the Albert, it is a project that's got to take maybe 2-3 years to compete. They boys maybe just want short-term success because they're playing with their pals and they've got every right to be like that. As for Kane, I genuinely do think Kane will be a good addition to the league for sure. Me and him will have some ups and downs, that's for sure.
I was on the phone to him for about an hour.
Listen, he's passionate. He's very passionate, and one thing I will say, that East Kilbride team, he'll improve them. They'll be a better side next year. Right?
By the way, how good have they been the last 4 or 5 games? What's that all about?
It's a wee bounce after them. They get beat last night, and
I've seen that.
and I think it's just similar to myself. Like I'm now running down where we've been midweek for 5-6 weeks. Injuries are starting to kick in. Boys are on holidays. It's communion season, so I think every team with not a lot to play for this weekend will be very, very depleted. Who are playing pretty much dead rubbers. So I've actually got East Kilbride at home this weekend, but I'm under no illusions. The team we play on Saturday will not be the team Stephen will have next year. I know that for a fact. But I wish them all the best, and I look forward to coming up again.
We'll cover it.
Hopefully I can get the better of him again.
I love how Daryl just like that with the road and that, like, you know.
Oh, he's honestly he's been
I'm just looking down on you boys for Division 1, maybe, you know what I mean? He's listening.
That's but a few of comments, sorry mate, just going back to what you said about you also said about no holding people back. I've had similar situations with that. I had a boy, Keegan Lang, and his first season playing men's football. He hadn't played for his 14, but he was good. And he came and played with our morning team and he was phenomenal. He came to juniors and he was excellent for the second half of the season. And Daryl came in and put an offer in, and I didn't feel it was right for Keegan at the time. I felt Keegan
needs £50 a week on a Celtic season ticket.
We went to Kilbride. I kind of tried to speak Keegan round, saying I think you need another year, 18 months with me playing every week. And I said, I don't think you'll play every week at Lanark. And he's went up there and he's contributed towards their season. He's been excellent. And the games I've caught Lanark in this year, he's been brilliant. So it just shows you. I think it's all about the boy having a wee bit about himself to go and challenge himself and go and test himself at a better level. And if he leaves in good terms, then his pals will always still be there for him, or they should be, in my opinion. Do you know what I mean? So I'd never stop MD trying to challenge herself at a better level.
See, on that note, and it's probably just leads me to be able to give a couple of boys a shout out in terms of, obviously, me. I've been at Drumchapel for the last 2.5 years doing the media stuff and that, and on Tuesday night, Hope had the opportunity because it's last game of the season. You mentioned a dead rubber, but Hope was always wanting to make sure that the team finished in the top 6 after knowing that they couldn't win the league in their first season in the Premier League, but Drumchapel finished with 4 under-20 players on the park, you know, and one of them scored. So I think, like you mentioned there about boys maybe getting the opportunity to go and play at that level. It's also now, I think, looking at opportunities for boys that are maybe not old, too old now to play in the under-20s as well, which I think David might be, don't quote me on that. But he's come on and he scored a goal whilst the likes of Kyle Lafferty and, you know, Dale Esplin and stuff like that are on the park, you know, when it's these big players. So you're right. Listen, enough of that. Let's have a look at your division. So we're sitting 8th, I think. Can I get the notice? No, even there. Let me try that one again. Oh, you can see how nice and prepared I am. 4th division. So I think when I looked earlier on, you were sitting right. So 8th position, you weren't there. You've propelled up the league. You can see that for kind of when I last looked. That's culminated with some of the results you've had. I know, was it Saturday past you had a draw against Campbelltown?
Aye, we did so.
That was that Saturday there. You guys scored with the last kick of the ball, they did?
No, Campbelltown scored last kick of the ball, so they did. Credit to them, they probably deserved the draw as well.
Aye, it's good to you to be honest about that. Right, so we're looking, obviously, this website does man up at times, man. Get that sorted, West of Scotland. Competitions, 4th division, right? The last sort of 6 games, that's probably the reason why you propelled up the table. You've had some right good results, and what's that? How have you managed to pull that together? That just been getting into training, getting the heads down.
Aye, so as I touched on earlier on the show, I obviously had that wee 5-week period where it was a full rebuild. I pretty much needed to bring in 20 players, and the players I did bring in were players maybe coming off the back of long-term injuries or no quite match fit and never had a good pre-season. And we found ourselves after 6 games with 2 draws and 4 defeats, and we're second bottom. So it was really difficult. And then, as I say, just gradually started to start signing some players. I started off, I brought in Chris Jarvie for New Mains for £100, and his experience straight away just started to help the changing room and stuff like that. And he scored some important goals. And then I got we played the cup games came at a really good time for us. So we played Kirky Rob Roy. It would have been in the south, I'm sure, and we were drawn 1 each, and we lost a goal in the 94th minute. It was an own goal with the goalie, and we really competed. But I seen signs that day going, hold on, now there's 4 or 5 good boys in here. So we competed, and I've got a close relationship with Davey Anderson, the Kirky Rob Roy physio. I use him for my players as well, and I know Gibby well. So Gibby, in the hospitality, I said to Gibby, listen, can you help me here? I need some players, we're struggling. And he'd a local boy, Mark McQuaid, a left winger, who'd been up there, and he wasn't quite getting in the team, obviously, first division, and he's quite young, so it was a bit, and he gave me him a free transfer, and Mark phoned me the night before his first training session, and he said, is it alright if I bring a pal? And I'm like, I tried to give off good first impressions. So I've won an absolute watch. He brought his pal Jack Docherty. Jack had been with Stirling Union in the Lowlands last year, but obviously
Jack's a good. I know who Jack is, mate. He's a good player, right? Good player.
So good, mate. And the two of them obviously made a difference. And then within a week or two, obviously Scott Nicholl and Kieran Brannan, who were arguably Lanark's best players last season, for when they won the 3rd division, they became available for transfer for whatever reasons, and Kieran Brannan, Kieran could still be playing the Premier League for sure, the 1st division without a shadow of a doubt, but his brother-in-law's the chairman at Royal Albert now, so again, we're not getting guys like that, and we worked round about his commitments. He's a coach at Motherwell Pro Youth, so we worked round about his, but straight away we brought in these like 5-6 players, and they really brought the standard right up, especially the boys for Lanark. That winning mentality, do you know what I mean? And we went on a run. I think it was 10 unbeaten, so we did, and we beat Knightswood in that time. We were the first team to beat Knightswood, and we're just on a really good run. And then
that wasn't that long ago, was it?
We went. So we went 10 unbeaten, and then there was all these. Remember, I was messaging you. There was all these reconstruction rumours and everything, and I thought, right up. We ran a chance here of 4 or 5 get up, but as it happened, obviously never. And then we kind of fell away and we lost 3 or 4 in a row. Then we went 6 unbeaten again. So we've been consistent this season, but consistently probably killed us. We're consistently poor, consistently good, consistently poor. So next season we need to find that. We need to find that run where we can go and win games and make them count.
You need to find that run that probably Kello have had, because I think I said all along that I thought out with Kilwinning and not Kilwinning, out with Knightswood and who else was it? Knightswood and the Port. Knightswood and the Port. I thought that they would somebody digging outside.
Aye, there will be, mate. Aye, over there for a minute.
Class, love it. So I think that's probably what Royal Albert need to do next season. Need to find that sort of happy medium. That defeat against Eglinton, and I always thought Eglinton were a right good side. How did you feel that night? Because that was a game at tileworks, wasn't it?
Aye, so again we played tileworks. We played Eglinton down there when we were on a good run, and we won 5-2. And we were very, very good on the day. We were excellent on the day. It could have been more. But Eglinton had just lost Mark Walker and the boy Chisholm. So they went to Bonneton, and I think they've struggled a wee bit to quite find that form since. Obviously losing the 2 players any team in the 4th division would. But they came up the other night, and again I'll never make excuses. We put a team out, but we're really struggling at the moment to put a team out just with injuries and holidays and stuff. But that's no excuse. They came up and they beat us 3-1 last week, and I thought they looked decent, but then I seen Callup beat them, and then they won last night. So I think they're a wee bit like ourselves. They're winning 3 or 4 games, and then they're losing 2 or 3. So they'll be very much like ourselves. They'll be hoping to find more consistency next year. But they've got some really good young players, and they've obviously got the connection with winning Rangers, haven't they? Where they get in a lot of their 20s and stuff. So I dare say they'll be up there challenging next year.
Right, let's have a look at the fixtures. Probably quite a lot to talk about there. I've been, no disrespect, quite bored with the Premier Division since Clydebank kind of wrapped it up. It's like Auchinleck Talbot. They've secured second spot in a season where Auchinleck Talbot are just an unbelievable side, but they've no set anything really alight. I don't know if that's because Clydebank have just been so good, but they won. Auchinleck Talbot won the West final. They got to the South final. They're finishing second. How would you like to be Auchinleck Talbot right now?
So actually, I seen Auchinleck Talbot a few weeks ago. As my brother-in-law plays Wieslow Bride, so they played the Talbot in a final maybe about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and I was impressed with them on the day. I thought they played really well, and I have heard since that I think they're going to try and give it a go next year to be back up there competing. So if that's the case, then I would expect them to go and sign well. They've obviously still got that big pool. The Talbot's probably the most famous junior club there is, if you're being honest.
Aye.
So I think they'll be looking around them and seeing your Johnston Burrows and your Cumnocks and all the rest of them spending a bit. And if it's possible, I think they'll maybe go and try and maybe do the same next year. And I think they've went a few years without winning the league. So I think they'll maybe fancy their chances
They've
next
also
year. They're
went.
finished the season there.
Aye, they've also went a few years without spending a great deal of money. They've like you says, they've used the fact that they are probably one of the famous junior teams out there. They've got good relationships with the professional teams that are in and around their area. Here, obviously, Kilmarnock as well. There's relationships there with them, but they've went and kind of picketed sort of lower level teams, and they're good players. And listen, Tucker's success is unbelievable. Somebody in our chat, somebody said that Tucker has won 37 trophies. Walking like Talbot in 20 years.
I've seen something similar. And
that's frightening. That's absolutely frightening. We've only got one game in the Premier Division this week, and it's Port against Auchinleck Talbot, and that's the season done. I'm just going to double check the table. I think everybody has played 30 games now, other than them two. Yep. So last game of the season in the Premier Division is Port against Auchinleck Talbot. Connor, how do you approach a game like that? It's a dead rubber, man. I don't care. It's a dead rubber. How do you approach a game like that?
I think if you're the Talbot, obviously they'll just be looking to keep on winning and finish the season in the high. If you're Pollock, maybe be looking to get a look at a couple of maybe 20s. They scrapped the 20s, but maybe be looking to get a look at some players coming back from injury.
Talbot finished second, Pollock finished 9. So you think that they'll just go out and look after what they need to look after, maybe get some minutes and legs, and maybe I've heard some rumours some of Pollock's players might be moving on. Probably won't not right for me to comment on certain players, because I get a lot of respect for Maxie and things like that as well. But I think, see, to be fair, if Maxie was here right now, we would probably say it is what it is, and he's just got to get on with it. But I suppose his job now will be maybe to get some minutes in the legs and get boys that are maybe haven't been involved this season that much, a wee bit more game time.
Yeah, 100%. And again, if that is the case, I think he'll use that 90 minutes to go with guys he's got a rough idea will be there next year to get a wee early look at them, won't he? So
100%. Right.
You're losing a lot of players.
I know, mate. Right, let's look at I want to talk a wee bit about the first division, because I think that everybody's played 29 games. It's one of the leagues that actually finishes every single team's playing on the 17th. let's talk about the relegation side of it first, right? So Ashfield are out, obviously, the game, Blantyre and Maple are all down, right? But Irvine Meadow, Dawson Winton Rovers can get pulled back into it if Clydebank don't manage to beat Musselburgh over the course of the 2 legs. See, as a manager, if in your head that you know that, and am I right in saying Dawson play? Is Dawson?
Are you there, mate? Sorry, I've just lost you a wee bit.
I can still hear you, mate. Dawson Winton Rovers play Kilburn late side. Can you hear me all right, aye?
Hello?
Have we lost
you, mate.
each?
I can't hear you, sorry.
Oh, I wonder why. 2 seconds, mate.
I can't hear you, mate.
Right, you got me now? Oh.
Right, sorry, mate. I don't know what happened there.
You got me, aye?
I've got you now, mate. I lost you just as you were talking about the first division.
That wee mic thing's a pain in the backside, right? So what I was saying about the relegation side of the first division, the Clydebank Musselburgh tie is going to play a large part of what happens in that, and I think there's been a lot documented this week on social media. People saying that it's an absolute shambles. I think, listen, I do think it's a bit poor, but when West of Scotland teams sign up for the West of Scotland, they know that is a chance. There's a chance of that happening just with the way the pyramid's set up, right? So let's try and jump into Dawson Winton Rovers and Irvine Meadows Gaffer's shoes, and Dawson Winton Rovers take on Kilburn Lade side, and Meadow are away to already relegated Maple Juniors. If you are Jamie Irvine and the Dawson manager, what are you saying to them? Because they still really have to go and win that game to try and take them out of that. I can just double check. Isn't it? Because I think either one of them will be wanting to keep. So Dawson will want to be making sure that they keep that 12 spot, but Irvine Meadow will be hoping that Kilburn Lade side can do them a favour and they can beat Maple, won't they?
Oh, no, I'm treating that like a cup final. And that's what I'd be drilling into the boys' head. That don't leave it out of your hands. Be that team to get finished that one place higher. And obviously the shots are in a similar position in the Premier, aren't they? Where they're hoping for Clydebank to win. Obviously, and it's a horrible situation to be in. But as you say, that's you know what you're signing up for. You know what you voted in with the West of Scotland set up. But if I'm that manager this weekend, I'm not going out that going out cheating that like a dead rubber. I'm going out there for the 3 points for sure.
And how do you think the players' mentality will be? Because as a gaffer, you can only install so much into the players. Now, obviously, Jamie Irvine Meadow knows that he's going to finish 13th or 12th. But if he finishes 13th, then I suppose it's out of his hands. Then, but what's he having to say to his players? Is it exactly like you said, Connor? Is it cup final mentality?
Aye, 100%. Biggest game of the season. Biggest game they've played in. That's what I'd be telling them. The difference between playing third division, second division, or first division, whatever it may be in the league you're in. So aye, that's you would be treating that as serious as they come, because it is. It definitely is. It's 2 big games for both clubs. It really is.
Top end of the table, Connor. Arsenal have obviously already sealed the title. I think I watched Dinky's interview last night. Kirky Rob Roy went up there and beat them 3-0. And he was actually very, very displeased. He did say that, he had a few players playing out of position, but he expected the performance to be a lot better, and he alluded to just how difficult the Premier Division will be. And he also alluded to, I got the gist that it will now be time for him to put a stamp on the team. He's went in there and he's added a couple. He's brought a couple in that he knows that he trusts. But ultimately, that's Colin's team. That's not his team. Do you know what I mean? So he kind of alluded to. But he's done well. Listen, Arthur Lee were always in the driving seat, in my opinion, but he's done well to go in there and make sure that the Arthur Lee do win the league. How do you think Arthur Lee will do in the Premier Division, mate? Because we obviously don't know the other two teams going up, but we know the teams coming down for the Premier League, and you've got Darvo, Benburb, and oh my God, Darvo, Benburb, Gartcairn, thank you. Darvo, Benburb, Gartcairn coming down, so they're going to add to that first division, right? What are Arthur going to bring to the Premier Division?
Well, they're going to really need to go and spend a wee bit of money, I think, to be honest.
I don't think Arthur have it, mate.
Well, that's obviously I listened to the shows and I've spoke to Colin. Colin's been a good help for me since I went junior. He reached out to us and I speak to him quite often. I do know firsthand that they've not got a lot of money. But in saying that, what an opportunity it was for that current manager to come in. It's not often you get into a team that's 7-8 games to go as a new manager and you win the title. It's usually trying to keep a team up, isn't it? But so there's clearly a good side there if they've won the first division, but he'll need to recruit wisely, that's for sure. I've not seen Arthur this season, so I can't comment too much on the current team, but I do know obviously you've got teams like Gartcairn, Darvo and Benburb coming down, shows you just how difficult a league it is to stay in. Darvo won Scottish in the West the year before, then came down.
Notoriously the first division, I think I would say, just for having 3 years experience in it as a media guy, having watched all the teams, and I mean a football guy as well, I'm probably well qualified to make a judgment call on the type of football that's been played. I actually said to Opie, I think the Premier Division will suit us a lot better to the first division, and it's probably shown that because they played. Listen, Drumchapel had an extraordinary start to life in the Premier League, and we took a dip in form. And listen, I know it's been well documented that Drumchapel spend this and spend that, but having been at a club, I know they don't. I know they pay boys decent wages, but Hope's worked with a squad of first team players of about 14, 15 most of the season, and a lot of 20s have been on the bench quite a large part of that season as well. So, I think that might be what Arthur will have to do. They might have to trim the squad, keep their better players that are maybe on a bit more money, but free up wages by getting rid of fringe players that are maybe not involved as much, or going down the route of getting players like Miles Miller. It's in Cardiff's under 20s. He's a cracking wee player. I mean that might be what ending up. Dinky will do. You might end up just tapping into that market, but no illusions that that's going to be a very, very, very a very tough ask. It's D-Day for Rutherglen, Renfrew and Kilwinning, who all occupy the top 4. St Roch's are just out of it in 5th place. Kilwinning, Renfrew, Rutherglen on 54, 55 and 55 with 1 game remaining. I think Rutherglen probably have the easier of the ties going to an already relegated Blantyre. However, going to the KG is no mean feat. It's a awkward surface to play on. There's not much football that gets played. Rutherglen might have to change their style. Blantyre beat Irvine Meadow 4-2 a couple of weeks ago, and I would have never have seen that coming, to be perfectly honest with you. I think Kilwinning playing the Rock at Buffs, that's probably the toughest, out the two. Renfrew, Petershill, both teams playing at home. Petershill really nothing to play for. How do you see that going? And I'm going to ask you for a prediction. Put yourself on the line, Connor. How do you? I think. On you go, mate.
I think Kilwinning's get the toughest game, obviously, in the wee Kilwinning Rangers St Roch's kind of rival. St Roch's would love nothing else but to stop them figuring out, because that'll be a good crowd down there.
Aye.
That'll be kind of probably played as a cup final for both teams as well, because your St Roch's will want to stop them. if you were to really put your neck in the line, you'd probably say the team got to Blantyre, wouldn't you, Rorglen? You'd probably say you'd fancy Rorglen. But again, as you said, Blantyre have picked up some crazy points this season at games you wouldn't have expected them to. So it's all to play for. It definitely is. It's all to play for. I would probably say Rutherglen just because of who they're playing, and no disrespect to Blantyre, but I wouldn't be surprised if any one of the three went 1-3 and went up. But
who do you think? Who do you think will go up out of Kilwinning and Renfrew then? If you've got Ruggigan, if you're putting your money on Ruggie to go up, we've got one more. Now Jimmy's Renfrew's been there and thereabouts all season.
Aye, they have. Well, they're sitting top there for about 6 or 7 weeks, weren't they? Until Athley played their games in hand. But I'd probably go Renfrew. Obviously, did you say Renfrew's playing Petershill? Is that who they're playing?
Aye, at home at New Western Park.
Aye. So obviously Petershill have obviously just parted company with their manager and stuff as well. So you don't know how much your squad they'll have on Saturday. So you probably fancy Renfrew to get the job done against Petershill. And as I say, Kilwinning have then get that difficult home game against St Roch. So I'd probably go Renfrew. Probably go Rutherglen Renfrew to get up, and unfortunately for Kilwinning, I think they'll maybe
my fondness of Kilwinning comes for Kevin. I think Kevin's a great manager. You go back to the time where he was at the Rock and his old man passed away, and he took the reins there, and he did a right good job, and then he's went down to Kilwinning and he's done a really stellar job there. We had Kevin on the earlier shows and we spoke and asked him what his remit was, and he was saying that the committee just said stay in the league, make sure you stay in the league. And I think he's got another year. He got a new deal a couple of weeks back, assuming that's because his remit's been met and he's ultimately taking it to the final day. No disrespect to Kevin at Kilwinning and the guys at Athley and Rutherglen, but see if Jimmy gets Renfrew promoted out of that division. That's an incredible job. It is an absolutely incredible job because they don't. Listen, we know they've got a fantastic setup where the park is and stuff like that, but they're not a team that goes out and throws money left, right, and centre. They work hard. Do you know the saying "hard work beats talent"? I think that maybe comes into the equation for Jimmy. I think they've just been a right hard working side this season, and they'll be a great addition to the Premier Division next season. Almost got a little bit of shots about them where they'll probably go into the Premier Division and it'll be a completely different season for them. It'll be all about trying to maintain that position. I spoke to somebody that's involved at Atherley, and he said if they went up and finished fifth bottom, job done. As a manager, Dinky will be expecting more than that, right? We've got 7 or 8 minutes to go of the show. Let's jump into that second division, man, because this is what you live for. Absolute live for it in the last day of the season. So the title's not even wrapped up. It's not even wrapped up yet, and it's the last game of the season. Neilston 64 points, Whitlet 63, Lanark 63, Muirkirk 63. I think Ross Cusick at Muirkirk's kicked himself a wee bit because he knows that, you're looking back, maybe it's a certain one of those results, and probably the Cambuslang game, given, where Cambuslang are in the league. And he's maybe trying to figure out how they've ended up going. And I think they got it was a 96-minute goal. And they won last week, and even that extra point puts them second. I don't know how the goal difference would work there. It would have put them second, level on points with Neilston. Let's touch on your buddy Daryl at Lanark. Moore Park, 2 o'clock kick-off on Saturday. Probably sees the biggest crowd of the season there, given that what's online for both teams. Both teams can still win the league.
Aye. I'll be bouncing up there. Aye. I'll be bouncing up there. It really will be. I know. Obviously, Lanark really really well. I know all the boys. I've got to know the committee, and I wish them nothing but the best. I hope they really do. I hope they can get over the line, and if the league title comes with that, amazing. But I think they've won 7 out of 7 since getting bet 4-0 at Bonnet, and that's a hard thing to do in any division. And then I'm dark again. So I'll be, and I think he said Whitlett's the best team he's played this season, so it's probably the toughest game he could have asked for. He got a wee favour off of Canby on Saturday. I think Neilston will do the business against St Anthony's. I think they'll do the business. I think they'll get the league title.
No, Neilston are away to Yoker, I'm sure, mate.
Yoker?
Hold on, I'll double check.
Yoker.
Aye. I still think that could go either way, right? I know Yoker are the worst form team in that league at the moment. Obviously, their gaffer chucked it, and the under-20s manager went into, and I think that's a hard ask. And I said on the Saturday Live show 4 or 5 weeks ago, when Yoker were sitting 12th, I said I just see them plummeting. It was just the run of fixtures. The run of fixtures were the hardest kind of out there, and asking a guy to go in and take a squad that he's not worked with the whole of that season. I don't know his team talk. If I'm taking his team talk on Saturday, I'm telling them that they need to go and win the match. Ultimately, what's happening at Cambuslang Rangers shouldn't matter because both Wanderers are obviously safe. Again, that obviously the Clyde Bank situation has a detriment, not just in the first set. It has a detriment right through the leagues, right? So if I'm Yoker's gaffer and I've got the team talk, I'm saying irrelevant to what's happening at Cambuslang, you need to go out and stand up and be counted, because you don't want to just go and hand Nielsen the title. You've got your own relegation. You've got relegation to think of as well. I think I've said a couple of times this season that I think it'll be a difficult game for Nielsen, and they proved me wrong by going and winning by 2 or 3. But I think that game's a potential banana skin for them. It really is. I think that Muirkirk up with his 4th versus 5th. That, and it's not even a Burnside Park. It's a Gasworks as well. It's a hard place to go and get points, you know.
Definitely. And they've obviously lost a couple of their last games away from home, so it's a tough place to go.
I think the top 4 in that league will probably be evenly matched all season. You've had Muirkirk go to Nielsen and win there. You've had Whitlett's beat Lanark earlier on the season, didn't they? As well, you know. So
that's right.
That'll be on the back of Daryl's mind. It'll be on the back of Daryl's mind, I think. You know what I mean? I think probably what we have to say on this show is credit to the teams for taking it to the absolute wire, because it is the absolute wire. We've seen the Premier Division and the First Division titles being wrapped up. You know, the Premier Division was wrapped up a lot sooner rather than later. Arthur Laird then went and done the business, but that league is absolutely unbelievable, isn't it? It's something 100%. Else. Listen, we'll keep an eye on that. I am on the show. I'm on the Saturday Live show on Saturday, so I think the 2 games in the First Division and the 3 games in the Second Division will be well worthy of a watch. The last promotion place from the Third Division, or the last 2, is a bit mad as well, because you've got Kilsyth, Threave and Greenock. Now, I did say, and no disrespect to Gaz at Greenock, and I keep saying that because I love Gaz to bits. He's a great coach, a good guy, and obviously Slicks up there, James Marks, who started the season at Drumchapel. I'd love nothing more for them to go up. It's so tight at the top there as well. And then when you go and look at the fixtures, you've got Greenock going to Lugar Boswell, Kilsyth to Perthshire, and 3 Rovers to Valley Leaving, right? If I'm 3 Rovers, Valley Leaving, I'm just thinking that's probably, I think 3 will win that. I don't see any other outcome for that.
Yeah.
Valley Leaving, they're relegated now, you know. Again, it's all, I think it's quite dangerous playing a team that don't have anything to play for, especially if they've just been relegated. So maybe I might be talking out of turn. I just don't see Villa leaving, going to Threave and getting a result. And Threave are they're very, very good at home. Kilsyth take on Glasgow Perthshire. Now, a couple of my old amateur boys are in Glasgow Perthshire, and they're right good players, but Perthshire have had a really, really indifferent season, sitting in 11 wins, 3 draws, 15 losses. You would think Kilsyth would probably take care of business there as well. We obviously, their gaffer leaving, and then Thorn's game, obviously, Thorn's game is irrelevant. Greenock take on Greenock. Look at Boswell. I said, I think if you were looking at all the ties, Greenock probably have the hardest job, don't they? Greenock
100%. Aye, you would definitely fancy Threave to win their game. I think they would do better than Vic's 5 or 6-1 last night, and Irvine Vic's in a similar situation as Very leaving, aren't they? So you would expect Threave to definitely win. The other two, Kilsyth, I think you would Kilsyth at home.
Aye, Kilsyth at home, mate.
Aye, last game under that manager as well, isn't it? And you probably, as you said, probably be the odd game where you would probably say that's the toughest game for Greenock.
Yeah, by the way, what a kick they got! Like putting out on social media. I mean, nearly 3 months ago that Bailey's moving on to pastures new. That could have had a detrimental effect. That could have the boys could have just went like, but it's really, really, it's really propelled them. I think Aaron Conley, who plays with my amateur team on a Sunday, he get beat off them. I think it was 8-0 when he was still the Wishaw manager, and he turned around in the show and said to Bailey, "Oh, you're welcome for kickstarting your season." You know what I mean? It's like they've had a right good run since then, and then obviously Bailey announcing that he was moving on. Listen, same sentiments. Good luck to Greenock, Threave, and Kilsyth, all we play for. And listen, it keeps us with things to talk about. The final thing to talk about in the 4th division is who's going to take that title home. Who's it going to be? 73 and 70 points, 29 and 29, and it goes to goal difference.
I think Knightswood will get over the line. I think they played Eglinton last Saturday and won 4-2, and I think they'll get a right good crowd, and I think the experience of guys like Kenny and Darren and the manager Michael has done an excellent job there. I think guys look at just Darren and Kenny being there and go, oh, they're throwing crazy money, but I think he's went with a lot of young boys this season as well. And where he's
the goalie
you've got to win.
The big goalie was just eyes out of nowhere.
He is unbelievable. Honestly, I've never seen a goalie who can kick the ball at him. I'm not meaning kick it long, like zing it. He's frightening.
Just the way he does it. There's actually been rumours. Sorry, Michael, if I don't mean to put this out there, but there's been rumours of higher clubs looking at him.
But I think it's out there. I think Michael's phone's no stopped for months with it. I'm quite close with Michael, and I think there's 2 or 3 of the young boys getting a wee bit of interest now. But listen, I really like Port Glasgow. Their front three. They're the best front three I've came across in junior so far. That's including cup. Obviously, I'm not saying Shorts front three are worse, but on their day, Port are the front three. The boy Rogers is brilliant, a really good player, and I think they'll get back up, and I think the 2 teams will stay up. I really do. I think they two will get up next season, and I would not be surprised to see any one of the 2 go and compete. But as for this Saturday, I think Knightswood will go over the line, and I think they'll do it comfortably. I think they'll. Port
Glasgow take on St Peters. You think that Knightswood maybe just have the right sort of tie just to get the title done and dusted? Do you?
Aye. As I said, Port's had an excellent season as well, though. Port's had a really good season. And I think Knightswood. I think Knightswood will get up on the day, but I think 2 teams will be up there challenging mid-table promotion places again next season if they keep hold of everybody and add.
Right, my man, that probably does it for the show, right? I'm a wee bit distracted here because I've got my phone is playing funny buggers with us now, but we need to, one, make sure we give our sponsors a shout out, and two, tell you about this. I've finally managed to get it on my phone. I'm talking a whole load of drivel while I try to fire this up my show. So on the Saturday show, PG's been obviously telling you about the live night that we've got on Friday the 30th. Tickets are on sale at the moment, priced a tenner. At that, meet the managers. It is Gordon Moffat, manager of Premier Division winners Clydebank. We've got Adam Hopes, who, by the way, can talk for Scotland, so it's always good to get a good listen to Hopey as well, and Stuart Maxwell is along for that as well. Doors open at 6:30. It is at the Erskine Arts building in Erskine, would you believe it or not? But it will be good for anybody interested in the West of Scotland and hearing from a championship winning manager, and I think the rise of Drumchapel as well is, a good thing to get a listen to, and Maxie's always get some really good insights to football as well. So if you've got nothing to do on the 30th of May, then get yourself a wee ticket. That obviously supports. Oh, he's away. He's disappeared. There you go. He's back again. He disappeared there, mate. That'll be good. That'll be good. If buy a ticket, just buy a ticket, get along and listen to some really good insight for some West of Scotland Premier League managers. Shout outs to the sponsors, VSN. Again, we mention every week just how good a kit supplier they guys are. My amateur team uses them, and half of the West of Scotland use them as well. If you've got any interest, the number's always available and on our channel. They do some really good bespoke kit. And Gaz, the big man with the beard, is always out at grounds as well, sort of promoting the product there as well. Roxburgh Insurance Brokers, a huge mention as well. And for everything West of Scotland Buildup, it's Twitter at WOSFL Buildup. Again, sponsored by VSN and Roxburgh Insurance Builders. Right, that's enough. I'm out of breath now. Listen, Connor, taking up enough of your time. I know you were quite keen to come on and get the word there Royal Albert out there. Listen, very, very lastly, good news for Royal Albert getting the 25-year lease from the council for Tileworks Park. Very briefly, Connor, what does that mean for you guys as a club?
Oh, it means absolutely everything. We managed to keep it quiet at the time, but there was a real possibility where we wouldn't have had a home ground at the start of the season. We were getting into the pre-season, into the summer, into the new season, not knowing if we'd have a home ground this season. And the committee got a few weeks' notice, pretty much overnight notice, and they've went and brought together a Tileworks committee. There's 8 youth teams play out of the Tileworks. There's a men's walking age over 50s team just started. They're looking into a ladies team. It's massive for the village of Stonehouse, not just the Royal Albert, and it's just more positive, good news coming out of the club. But that's not possible without the hard work of the committee members. They know who they are, and I can't be any more thankful. The difference in our park this season is scary. And that again, that's down to their hard work, and I can't thank them enough. And it's just more good, positive news for the club at the moment. So hopefully next season we can have a good season and really reward the guys who work every day for us. So it really was good news yesterday.
Brilliant. Right, Connor, as I said, mate, delighted to have you on. You can get back to your working day. Hopefully that hour and 8 minutes doesn't get taken at your wages, bro.
No, that'll be all right. So well.
Good man. Right, listen, mate, take care of yourself.
Thank you. Good luck with 25th of May as well for your league decider as well, mate.
Oh, mate.
I'll maybe not down to it, actually. I'll maybe not down and have a look at this number 10.
I can't even think about it, mate. It's making me feel sick a wee bit. And it's amazing. Do you know it's amazing that football kind of makes you feel like that? I said, listen, we've got a decent team. I've always had decent amateur teams, but 4 or 5 weeks ago when we get beat off top of the league and went 8 points behind, we were like, right, okay, that's it, done. And you know yourself at amateur level that takes a toll on your squad. So we spent the last 3 or 4 games with a squad of 11 or 12 and just kind of cracked on. And unbelievably last week, Kelburn Blantyre were winning 1-0. 93 minutes gone. The trophy was set up for them to lift up and everything, mate. The banners were out. and then Blantyre go and score a 94th minute winner. You know, it's football, innit? You know, it's really brilliant for me, you know, brilliant for Kelburn and their players, but that's football, and hopefully we can go and do the job. But listen, mate, take care of yourself, and we'll catch you.
Thanks very much, mate, okay?